Welcome, everybody. Please mute your microphones on your screens, except for
Kathy, did you know you mute yourself?
No, I didn't. I don't know why that happened, but we're good. Wendy needs to unmute herself. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Sammy, you can mute yours. Oh, I see. If you mute yours, probably does. Okay. All right, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to the Reinvention virtual chat and to the Reinvention podcast, which is the Power of Reinvention. I am super excited to have everybody here today, and we are going to have a wonderful conversation with my guests, Hillary and Wendy from Boss Talks. We're going to start with a little reading from my book, as we always love to do, because since I couldn't go on book tour when I launched my book and it debuted March 7th, a year ago, and a year and a half ago at this point, I launched the Reinvention Virtual Chat series so that I could bring the content to the people and the people to the content, and have had 109 episodes up until today. Today is episode 110, which is really amazing, and just had the most extraordinary conversation. So I'm really thrilled. I was honored to be a guest at a Boss Talks event that was live in person that we just did in late September with Hillary and Wendy. And these are two unbelievable women. So I'm going to do a little reading from my book and then introduce them, and we're going to jump right into a conversation. If you have any questions, please hold them to the end. We will do a little Q&A at the end of this session. So just pop them in the chat or raise your hand when I get to that part of the program. I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 4 today. It's called The Balancing Act. Long ago, before I had children, in fact, before I was even married, I read an article that hit me hard. It was about priorities. The article stated that human beings are capable of effectively managing 3 priorities in life at any given time. 3. If we try to do more, we'll end up faltering on all of them. 3 has always been an important number to me. I came from a family of 3 girls. I've lived in 3 countries. Growing up, I had 2 best friends. We were the 3 musketeers, as far as I can remember them. I have 3 boys, 2 sons and 1 husband. The concept of choosing 3 things to prioritize felt almost spiritual to me. Still, as a successful businesswoman, I have far more than 3 priorities in my life, probably more than 10, and that doesn't even include family, fitness, or any of the other things I'm supposed to work on every day to be happy and healthy. Fast forward 30 years and life, 30 plus years, and life is certainly no simpler than it used to be. Choosing 3 priorities still seems impossible. Most people aren't able to limit themselves to 3 social media accounts, let alone 3 total life priorities. And yet, if curiosity is an act of self-care, which I firmly believe it is, we owe it to ourselves to explore what those 3 life priorities might be, especially if we feel less than stellar about our current situation. After all, some of us are happy in our marriages but feel uninspired at work. Others dream of a more fulfilling love life, but are completely in tune on the work front. Still, some of us feel a quiet tug for a bit more excitement in life, while others feel the need to stage a complete mutiny. Whatever the case, the only way to answer the yearning is to get up close with you, the real you, and determine what lights you up, what sets you off, and what will bring your life into a more divine expression. So let's get started. And let's get started with Hillary and Wendy, because these 2 women are such incredible stories of taking life by the horns and creating what you want and figuring out what your priorities are. So I felt like that was such a perfect passage to read from the book. So welcome, Hillary. Welcome, Wendy. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. We're happy to be here.
Well, I'm going to read just a little bit about the 2 of you and share a little bit about what Boss Talks is, and then we're going to kind of go into a little bit more deeper dive with both of you. Hillary Gadsby is referred to as a Renaissance woman and a, quote, Jill of all trades by Forbes. Hillary is an Amazon best-selling author, event expert, and master connector. She has an international business degree from the American University of Paris and an extensive business development background, including experience with such brands as Ralph Lauren, Gucci, Valentino, and Berlin. Wendi Boyden, Esquire, has held the leadership roles both as an accomplished litigator and senior executive in the employment practices, technology, and cyber insurance industry. Wendi has been passionate in her roles about mentoring young women to help them successfully navigate challenges in order to reach their career goals and ascend to top corporate ranks. These two incredible ladies came together and formed Boss Talks, which I'm just going to read a little bit about because I think it's so great to have the context of what they're up to. And certainly, I encourage you to go check out their website at some point, not while we're talking, because I want you to really focus, but we'll put information in the chat so that you can get the link to their website and also just sort of follow some of the amazing work that they're doing. Boss Talks is a global membership community that empowers women entrepreneurs and business leaders all over the globe to step out of isolation and level up in their businesses and careers and enable them to unleash their revenue potential. Boss Talks provides the mentorship, business, and social connections and community support to women to ensure their businesses and careers thrive and increase their economic footprint globally. They launched it back in 2014, and I'm going to let them really tell you more about it. I don't want to sit here reading when I have the two women here to talk to you all about it. So let's start with you, Hillary, because you're on the left side of my screen and I'm a lefty, so we're going to go from left to right. Hillary, let's talk a little bit about you, your background, and a really fun question that I want you to kind of start with as you start to tell your story.
Yeah.
Who was little Hillary? Did little Hillary know that she was going to grow up to do what she's doing today? Did you have like dreams and fantasies about what life was going to do? I mean, it's always so interesting to kind of take a moment, and one of my chapters is called Hello, Are You Still In There?
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that notion of kind of tapping in once in a while to who we used to be or what our dreams were and figure out whether, you know, we're even close to what they were with all the twists and turns in life.
So little Hillary was very different than big Hillary, obviously. But I'm a natural born connector. And I love connecting people to each other and to opportunities, especially women. And when I was a little girl, that actually wasn't the case. I didn't have a lot of female relationships, not good. They weren't very close female relationships. I felt that there was a lot of bullying or, a lot of cliques that were formed in, junior high and high school. And even when I was in, when I was in elementary school, there were a lot of cliques that formed. And I had always wanted to I always wanted women to actually help each other because we're women. I mean, why would we compete with each other? Why would we be mean to each other, right? And so that was kind of always my goal, was really to have women be nice to each other and to help one another instead of tear each other down. And I wanted to be an attorney. Like Wendi when I was younger. And it didn't happen that way. I ended up leaving when I was 19 years old to Paris, France, to go to school. And I became a jeune fille au pair, which is a nanny in French for a French family. And I ended up studying business. I was pre-law, but I started in business. And I have a degree in international business from the American University of Paris. And then I went into the fashion industry. So, very, very different from where I am now. And then fast forward to 2008, I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. I would work for different people. And we were in a position kind of where we are now, is where the economy was not great. We were really trying to reinvent ourselves. And I decided to start a business that was all about connecting people. So through the platform of events. And that's really where everything started for me when it came to really connecting. I did have an opportunity when I was 15. My mother was always a master connector as well. And when I was 15, she introduced me to somebody. She actually introduced me to Steve Wynn when I was 15 years old. And he was the reason why I was able to get my foot in the door at Ralph Lauren in Paris. And so I knew how to leverage a connection. I just didn't know what I was going to do with it. And then I turned it into a business for companies like Toyota and the Four Seasons. And that's kind of how everything started with me, and connecting people to opportunity. And then the women's side just came because I was a woman entrepreneur and I had to navigate the waters and I had to figure it out. And not one woman would send the elevator back down. And it was very difficult for women to help me. So I turned to men, and I had great male mentors, but unfortunately, no women. And so I decided to create it instead.
I love that. And
Yes.
as we should,
Yes.
and kudos to you, because you understand the nuance of what is going on and have really built a business around that, which is so important for all those that come after us. I mean, 30 years of running a company, as I have as a female founder, there's been nothing greater, no greater joy than actually sending that elevator back down, and the mentoring that I love to do, and the time that I would take on how busy to be there for people who really want a chance and want to be exposed to what's possible. So it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And do you find that, it seems like there's a lot more of this now in the world. It's a different environment. I always say when I started my business 30 years ago, these conversations did not exist. I just had to believe in myself and go for it, and took what I wanted. I didn't ask for permission, and that's just always been my nature. But do you feel that it's a different environment now as well?
I do. I feel that I think you have to create the environment, though, right? You have to put yourself into the right environment, because if you don't, there are still women that don't help other women. It's unfortunate that it does, but I do believe that it is starting to happen more and more. And I feel like it's happening more and more since we've been in this pandemic.
And that's true. I think you're right about that. So I'm going to switch gears to Wendi. And Wendi, welcome and hello. And I would love you likewise to share a little bit of your story, a little bit of who little Wendi was growing up. And did you envision your badass self doing what you're doing now with your life, and just where you are in the world?
Well, little Wendi was a troublemaker.
Shocker.
I know that's a shock, but she was a little troublemaker. She was a younger sibling, and basically, wanted to rebel against doing what I was supposed to do and status quo. And, I always wanted to stand out, and much to the chagrin of my mother, who just wanted me to fall in line. And she grew up during a different time. So, and in a different scenario. And so, it was just difficult for her to manage that. But, as far as I never wanted to be with one clique. I never wanted to be like, and believe me, I experienced the same thing as Hillary, a lot of cattiness, with women not supporting each other, and their priorities just being in the wrong place. I ultimately really caught on to being an attorney when I was in high school, because I was on the mock trial team, and I was grilling the shit out of this this poor kid. He was like the alleged sexual harasser, and I was like going at him, and I was like, I really like this, I feel like it just is, it's invigorating. It gets my blood flowing. And I decided I really enjoyed employment because it allowed me to do a lot of different things. It allowed me to be reactive in representing people who, have been treated unfairly under the law, but it also gives me the opportunity to help businesses on the other side be proactive, so that they create an environment where, these situations are less likely to happen. So I kind of wanted to be on both sides of the coin. But in any event, when I went to law school, I mean, we all supported each other. We had a great environment. And then I got to the legal world, and I just felt that a lot of the women partners were kind of dead set on putting you through the process they went through when they were entering the profession, which it was basically, you know, just horrible. And you know, they didn't treat me like, you know, like, oh, you know what, this was bad for me, so I really want to make it easier for you. And it really struck me that I wanted to, you know, because I went through this kind of challenge, I really wanted to make it easier for other women who are up and coming, because a lot of us don't open our mouths. A lot of us don't ask for help. And I wanted to be an open resource there for them to be able to, you know, to trust that, you know, there's more than enough success to go around. So anyway, that is why I was so enamored with, you know, with what Hillary was doing, because it was basically making that process easier. I mean, another event happened, you know, in my life where I was, you know, I went from law to corporate, and then corporate to entrepreneurship. And when I wanted to go to entrepreneurship, I didn't do it because I didn't have the community. I didn't have the connections. All of my connections were corporate. I didn't have any, you know, any women entrepreneur mentors that I could rely on, or that I could go to. And I don't think there's really anything out there that provided you with a mentor. Nonetheless, like a female mentor. So this was something I was really passionate about. And when I met Hillary and I saw, you know, what Boss Talks was and what it was doing, I was just like, we got to take this global. Like we need to have this in every city. We need to have this community in every city that is, you know, that women know about, that they know that they don't have to do it on their own.
So share a little bit about how that works. How do you scale Wendy and Hillary, and how do you create, you know, the chapters that you have around the country and the world to really sort of be on brand with your message? And I think, you know, what you've done is remarkable, and it's continuing to grow. What's that journey look like for you both, in terms of, you know, not only doing that and scaling the business, but turning it into a real business model as well? I mean, that's, you know, no easy feat.
It is, and I'll save Hillary on her voice because I know she's got a little throat issue. But you know, we scale it by a very streamlined process, where and it's really the same process we use for our speakers. If they are women who are in the trenches, they're doing it, or they've done it, and they want to help other women, we have been fortunate to find. We've been fortunate to find 15 other women in the US and Canada. They reached out to us actually through social media. And, you know, we got to talk because they saw what we were doing. They're like, I want that in my city. And so, you know, as with that type of drive and desire to, you know, and understanding that starting a community like this not only is like beneficial to the women in the community, but it's also beneficial to them because they are creating those relationships as well that could benefit their business. So it's basically a win-win for everybody.
So before COVID, these were a lot of in-person meetings, a lot of gatherings. We know from Hillary that she was just in Chicago, you know, doing that, and sadly picked up COVID along the way. So I'm really sorry, Hillary, that you're feeling that way today while you're with us. And thank you for being on here feeling the way you are. You know, again, it just shows the resilience of who you are and what you do for the cause and for the business. But you were doing these in person, right? So
we were,
yeah.
We did them for 6 years in person. We started in 2014 as a speaker series called Secrets of Successful Women Entrepreneurs. Right. Very long, and in marketing, you know, you've got to shorten it. So we rebranded in 2016 to Boss Talks. And you know, I had worked with other women's organizations, and I didn't feel like the members were that involved. And what I think our secret sauce is that we are co-creating something together with our chapter directors, with our members. And that's where the success comes in. That's where if you involve people to co-create something with you, it's more of a movement than anything.
Yeah.
And the more people you add into the movement, the faster it will grow. And that's what we've been able to do over the past year and a half is really grow into 10 cities and 14 countries.
Amazing. And so the resources that you offer to people, what is it that makes someone want to join? We love to be mentored, but are there, what are some of the other things that come with that relationship that one has with Boss Talks in the community?
Absolutely. So a lot, actually. So when you join Boss Talks, not only are you joining a sisterhood that is willing to help you, every single woman who is a member wants to help you succeed. The other part is that we have very carefully vetted our quarterly mentors. So every quarter, our members get a mentor, they get a mentorship by top female business leaders and coaches.
Award-winning.
What's that, Wendy?
Award-winning.
Award-winning, yes, coaches and mentors. Every quarter they get it, they get something, and it's in several different areas: mindset and leadership, social media marketing, branding, PR and visibility. We have like 8 mentors right now that are just incredible. So you end up getting more than, you get more than one monthly training really as part of it. And then on top of that, all the events that we do with these incredible female speakers who have really been there, done that, and can give you the tips of what to do and what not to do so that your business can thrive.
And probably avoid some of the pitfalls that one might normally make. So it really is a shortcut, which we know when we listen and kind of open ourselves up to what other people have to offer. That's an incredible gift, an incredible opportunity to perhaps jump over a few of those hurdles with grace, or not have to jump over them at all, which is always a wonderful thing. In building this business together, you've had to sort of bring your strengths. What would you say that you each bring to the business, and where are the challenges? I mean, not every day. I mean, I've seen you two together and I know the chemistry is amazing, but there are challenges for any partners in growing a business, and hopefully those are healthy moments of growing as well. So I'd love to hear a little bit, because I think we all encounter that in different parts of business in life, that there are the fabulous parts of a partnership and there are the challenging parts. So who wants to go first?
Well, we actually, Hillary and I always talk about this because, a lot of people have, and she was fortunate enough or unfortunate enough, as the case may be, to have other business partners. And she can tell you a little bit about that. But, it's so important to have somebody who has different skills than you. And that's true in a lot of different respects. You should always surround yourself with people who have different skills than you do, because it just rounds everyone out, and it really and it makes it so that if you don't have an area of expertise, you always have that resource. But in terms of our business, literally Hillary's the sort of the chief visionary, and I'm the person that basically makes it work. So that's kind of in a nutshell what our partnership is. I have some ideas as well, and she has ideas obviously about how we execute, but basically it's about ideas and putting a plan together to execute them.
Yeah. I agree with Wendy, and I would say that, we just, we have such a great relationship, and I've, like Wendy said, I have had business partners in the past that just didn't work out. And I was able to, I know what to look for and what not to look for, and also how to, I wouldn't say that every single one of those partnerships was the fault of the other person. It was, I had a hand in that too. And now I know what I needed to work on from a partnership standpoint, and allowing my partner to take the reins a little bit, because I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I've allowed Wendy to really like run the ship. And that's actually really great for me, because I didn't do that before. And it's taken a lot of stress off me. But Wendy and I just have this relationship, and we didn't know each other that well when we first became business partners. We were introduced through our other business partner and friend, but our relationship has really evolved. She's like my family. She always has my back. And I think it's really important also to allow your business partner to shine too, and to give them the opportunity to learn new skills, which Wendy has completely done. And I mean, she didn't know graphic design, web design, and she now knows how to do it. She just teaches herself something. And it's really incredible to have a business partner like that. And the communication between us is second to none. If I have an issue, I talk to her about it right away. You don't let something fester. And we've been very, very lucky. We haven't really had any disagreements at all.
No, and the way that we handle that is that we don't, we tried very hard not to take it personally.
Yeah.
And as women, that can be challenging at times.
It's a fantastic point.
And the key is just to, if you feel something is, triggering you a little bit emotionally, just step back and be like, that's really interesting. Like, I think I need to think about that a little bit more, and let's talk about that, at whichever. If you're not ready to talk at that time, schedule a time to talk. But it's just so important to, where you have a difference of opinion, to be able to be, mindful of how it's coming across to the other person, and, and just being respectful and having a dialogue.
It's interesting. I mean, look, when you're running your own business, as you two are, it's one thing, but when you have partners, and there is that dynamic that you have to really learn to manage and connect on and communicate on, it's even more critical, because the success of your business is on both of you. And to find that way of communicating that enables you to move forward through something, and there will be challenges, and there may be moments where you don't see eye to eye. And I think it's like anything. We find it in various aspects of the workplace. We find it in relationships. We have to learn how to communicate and deal with things head on and address them, so that we can really support each other in our goal and our dreams. And this is a dream of both of yours. So it is really precious to hear how you respect one another, you really support one another. And yes, there are going to be challenges. What would you say are some of your weaknesses that you've had to overcome in building this business? Like, the things you had to learn, the things that made you a little scared, that you were, afraid of perhaps failing at it. Were there some moments for both of you?
Online marketing.
Right.
It's, since I'm used to building relationships in person, and then having to figure that out, and creating those connections on a virtual side, has definitely been a learning experience.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how long we've got here, but
We turned it into a 2-hour
yeah,
show.
no, I'm gonna be brutally honest with y'all. Like it's definitely been a tough road for me, because coming from like a 20+ corporate background, going into entrepreneurship is it was at some points I felt like putting a round peg in a square hole. And a lot of it comes with, losing what you felt was security in getting that paycheck. And as somebody who's fiercely as independent as I am, and who doesn't want to rely on other people, it's definitely something that, takes time to be able to be okay with. And Hillary knows this more than anyone else, because I put her through the ringer at some points of this process, and you know, just based on, you know, my own shit. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm a much happier person now, and I realize that. And I'm so much happier, even though, you know, obviously it's a hard road, and you don't, you know, you just kind of have to keep going, and you know, building your business, and you know, not looking back. But now I'm more focused on that, and it just took a while. It really did.
It's an adjustment, and that's a very normal process. Obviously, the last 18 months have thrown all of us into a tailspin, businesses, personally, all aspects of our lives. How did you sort of sit back and navigate what you were going to do? Suddenly you had this in-person event business, membership community that relied on, God, human connection and socializing and networking and getting face to face and having people in a room. And, you know, I was blessed to be one of the few to sort of be part of that startup again. So thank you for that, for both you and for me. It was wonderful. But when you sort of looked at each other and said, oh boy, looks like we're not leaving the house. This is going to be our medium of communication for a while. You had to really rethink what you were going to do with a business and keep all these people connected. So was that you know, what was that moment all about for you, and how did you sort of hunker down and figure that out together?
I'm going to let Hillary take this, but I'm going to tell you, this is really the cornerstone of the power of community and of mentorship. Like this is our story is exactly anchored in that very those two very important things, and I want to let Hillary kind of start us off, because it's a really great story.
Well, Wendy and I saw it coming really very quickly. You know, once Italy was shut down, we were kind of like, we need to figure out what this pivot's going to be. And we ended up pivoting in 48 hours. And honestly, it was kind of a Band-Aid that we did to start, because we were like, okay, we know that we're not going to be able to do live events for the rest of the year, maybe longer. And we were in the middle of building. We were going to already have both a virtual and in-person platform. We were already currently like setting the foundations to build out a virtual mentorship platform. And so we ended up having 13 speakers in 48 hours to do an entirely virtual event series. And that is the power of connections. And that's the power of the relationships that Wendy and I have built in, you know, in the years that we've been in our careers. And I've been very lucky to meet some very powerful people. So I've been able to call upon them and say, hey, would you like to be a speaker for something that may only last 2 weeks? But we would, you know, we'd love to have you back. And these were some of the speakers that we had already had before, and everybody said yes. And it was fantastic. And we started out with the mindset component. And it was really important we had to meet people where they were. And everybody was freaking out. Everybody didn't know what was going on. And we wanted to just make sure that not only the members that had come on board when we first launched our membership in January of 2020, but also those who were not members and the people in our community that needed a tether, really. And we wanted to be that tether for them.
That's an amazing time. I mean, I probably did, not only because of my book, but also because of my business and my agency and where marketing was, and live and virtual, and helping all of our clients sort of pivot and figure out what to do. I became a guest speaker on a lot of panels and a lot of conversations. And I think you're right. There was something about that. If you could anchor a conversation and create a sense of almost business therapy or personal therapy, which is almost what this virtual chat space has become to a lot of people, you were giving people a safe place and a compass of some sort for a very crazy time where, you know, nobody really knew, even you guys didn't have the answers, but you were creating a space in which to have the conversation. And whether it was about business and what you're going to do in a year or two or whatever, or whether it's about the here and the now and the, oh my God, and how do I do this and how do I get through this? And my kids and my cats and everything's running around and I don't know, you know, like you did create that. And I think that is a really incredible thing and does speak so much to your community and to your leadership, to both of you, in building that and having the strength and the courage to kind of say, okay, we're just going to take the bulls by the horn. We're not going to sit back and kind of see what happens. We're going to lean into this and build this from, you know, the ashes of what it is. And I think that's a pretty special thing you're able to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I had recently lost my father in 2019, and you know, I was already kind of on that sort of resilience. I've always been very resilient, and I reinvent myself a lot, and I felt that it was important to just continue on and figure it out. And instead of sit in it and be like, oh no, there's a pandemic, we have to shut everything down. Let's figure out how we can serve people in a virtual way. And we were able to do that pretty quickly.
Right.
Now, it took till June to create the entire platform that we did, but we continued to do the speaker series pretty much on a weekly basis.
Right.
Until we could figure that out. And what was amazing is now we have over 100+ hours of content that we wouldn't have had before.
Yeah, which I can attest to is pretty amazing because there are so many nuggets of wisdom in all these incredible people that have come into your life.
Yes.
And that's just priceless. It really is, because there's so many ways to share that, and your community is really leaning into that and counting on you to be able to do that for them. So that's pretty special. So going forward now, as we are starting to come back to live events, clearly you've been doing them. We know that there are repercussions to that as well, unfortunately, but what's sort of your game plan now that you're looking to go out there and do more? And what do you think you'll do differently that perhaps you were or were not doing with both your business and your events as things move forward?
Yeah, I think, I mean, as much as people had Zoom fatigue, I think that there was definitely still an appreciation for digital events, because, you know, where you have a really busy schedule, it's really, you know, it's more convenient for some people. And we really have to, like, you know, Hillary mentioned, you know, we have to meet people where they're at. Yeah. And people are at different, you know, parts of their career, their business. And so we're moving forward with a hybrid. Because I mean, initially, yes, we started out as a live event series, but we knew we wanted a digital component, mentorship component, because we wanted to extend our reach much further than, you know, the cities that we were able to set up communities in. And in fact, you know, we have members in 14 different countries. And that was, you know, it was a blessing and a curse, COVID. Yeah. You know, it really kind of challenged us in terms of personalizing the digital experience, but it also gave us a lot more. It allowed us to reach more women. Yeah. It was absolutely truly amazing. So that's what we intend to move forward with is a hybrid model. So that we can serve, you know, our members wherever it is that they're at in their journey. And we, you know, we mix up our areas of expertise based on where our mentors teach, based on what our members really want. And we listen to our members in terms of, okay, you know what is your biggest challenge right now? You know, name your 3 biggest challenges. We use that information to be able to seek out top women mentors to be able to teach these quarterly trainings for our members so that it actually speaks to them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, you know, I'm familiar with so many of the amazing people that have come and gone in and out of your network. Who, I guess that wouldn't be fair to ask you who was most inspiring, because that's like playing favorites, but I will ask you this. What is most inspiring, both of you, at the moment with what is going on in our world of business, women's general business, digital marketing, you know, just generally, what's kind of exciting you? Where are you looking even when you do start to look at who you want to bring into the room to
Mhm.
inspire your members and your community, who are the types of people and the types of industries and business that you feel speak volumes to where we're going, as business and in the future.
I think we're moving into a more empathetic society. A lot of empathy in business as well. That's what I'm seeing a lot of businesses reinventing themselves to be more empathetic and to understand their consumer more and understand and like Wendy said, meet them where they are. And I'm seeing a lot of that. And it's really uplifting and inspirational to see a lot of these companies and companies coming out of COVID that are helping so many, there's a lot of companies right now focused on mental health that are coming out that I'm seeing, just some stuff that's coming across my desk. And it's amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see some of the femtech that's coming out.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Wendy?
I am really excited about it's sort of to kind of piggyback on Hillary's last thought is that the realization and the awakening that you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to have anything else. And that's especially true in entrepreneurship and obviously in the corporate world as well. But I think that as women, we tend to want to take care of everyone else before ourselves. And I've seen just a very real attention being drawn to, to basically putting you first. Because putting you first really doesn't mean that you're putting others last. It just means that you're able to serve people better when you are 100% whole.
You're right. And, there's an expression, put your oxygen mask on first. There's a reason they say that on an airplane. It took me a long time when I was younger to figure out why, until it really made sense. And how could I help the kid or the person next to me if I wasn't actually breathing myself? And I think that it's such an amazing metaphor for how we do. And you're right, as women, we are the caretakers constantly. We do not put ourselves first. Yep. And so what we're seeing, that change in our world and the encouragement to do that is so incredibly powerful. And when we have to even keep reminding ourselves daily, whether it's 5 minutes of self-care or breathing or a little meditation or a little walk or just, stop the madness and just allow yourself to know that you're entitled, which is a big word that I use in the reinvention space, which is to know that we are entitled to be the center of our universe.
Absolutely.
And take care of ourselves. And I think you're right. There's, we're seeing a lot of growth in that space business-wise, and the dynamic is shifting tremendously as far as where money is being invested. So hopefully we'll see a lot of that in your circles with Boss Talks. Before we run out of time, I am going to open this up to Q&A. So for the purpose of our podcast, I'm going to thank Wendy and Hillary for being here. I'm going to ask that anybody that wants to find them, please go to bosstalks.com or to either Hillary Gadsby's LinkedIn or Wendy Boyden's LinkedIn page. I just love having you on the show, and I'm so grateful for you being here. So thank you.
Thank you.
This was amazing. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much, ladies, for joining us, and gentlemen. And we're just happy to have this, this forum. So any questions that you have, let her rip.
So I've turned off the podcast and we are in Q&A mode now. So I would love anybody that has a question, a comment, a thought, something else that you want to share in relationship to this conversation. The mic is yours. So anybody, I know that normally Marvin would, because he's always got a wonderful question, but I'm going to assume that he's tied up. Shelley, I see your mic is off. Please go for it.
Well, this is absolutely incredible what the both of you have done and are doing, and I thank you so much. I was just having a call this morning about women supporting women, and men are part of that conversation too, of course. but it brought up this whole idea that I started writing about this morning about, we all heard there's no heart in business. And that's the antithesis of what's happening here now, right? There is heart in business, and who better to lead that than women, especially when you talk about empathy.
Mhm.
What are you doing for your communities on leadership or guiding them through empathy? Because you said you have a lot of guest speakers and things of that nature.
Mhm. Yeah, so we have speakers in several different areas. One of which is mindset and leadership, and we work with this woman named Tracy Litt from she's a TEDx speaker, award-winning author, and she does these amazing quarterly trainings about getting into the mindset of. She has this podcast called What Would She Do, and it's really showing these women what they're made of and what they could be, and how to get there. And so we're focusing a lot on that. We're looking at women who bring the self-care aspect into as well. So we have an intuition expert coming up actually next week. So we're really excited about that, and how to use your intuition for your life and for your business. And so we're really looking at the inner side of business at the same time as the outer.
Yeah, and I just to add to that, I mean, we create a space where you can be raw and you can be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And and a lot of in this world, like if people feel like there can't be a heart in business, they have to be hardened, they can't show any vulnerability, they can't. So we absolutely foster a climate of vulnerability and of rawness and of complete honesty without any judgment at all.
What's great
and it's
about
hard.
that, Wendy, is that, even just, the typical business networking events, people show up and they're like, here's who I am, and I'm fabulous, and here's my card, and what can we do? And it is very that. And, from what I experienced just being in a physical space with an amazing group of women that you brought together, there was a lot of, how can I help you? And who are you? And what are you about? And what can I do? Everybody in that room wanted to support the other person. They were listening to what they needed, and they were very quick to say, I know a person, I've got an idea. I went out for dinner with one of your members, and we've stayed in touch, and I'm trying to help her with her business and connect the dots. And I even brought her to Marvin on something that he had told me. So like, you just kind of, when you open it up for that,
Yes,
you see the magic,
And
and
we
that's what
also-
you created.
Yeah, I mean, we also create that digitally. I mean, if you going to our sessions, you're always going to see an active chat. If somebody has a moment, they break down, or they get their vulnerability comes out. The chat goes crazy, and they're like, "Oh my God, you are amazing! I love you!" Like that. Like there's so much love and support that people show, and compassion towards each other, that it's like. It's pretty easy. Like we don't have to try so hard to teach empathy, because we just have such an amazing group of women who are tremendously empathetic to one another, and that's why, and I'm glad you mentioned about men being part of the equation, because I think there's a lot to learn between how men and women do business. There are things that men can learn from us on how to do business, and obviously there are strengths that they have in leadership as well. So it's just really kind of opening up people's minds to a different way to lead.
I mean, it's interesting, Wendy, that you brought up the, women are naturally empathetic and they understand that. But I do believe there's a difference of being empathetic in business, and it's not easy, especially, maybe women are naturally empathetic and men are less empathetic, but how do we bridge that in business? And I think that's a great discussion to bring forward. What does that mean? How do I do that? And how do we, communicate cross departments with all these different ideas and views and definitions of what empathy is, Well,
it's, we don't want to make the mistake that there's some organizations, similar organizations that have made and exclude men from the equation. Men are very welcome to attend our events. We love to have a different perspective. We love men who support women, and to welcome a different perspective. And, just the fact that they've shown up means that they're open to other ideas, and they're open to, to a dialogue and to learning from each other. So I think that men very much have to be part of the equation, and allowing them that space. And you have to balance it. I mean, some women are they're more comfortable with being vulnerable outside the company of men. So it's kind of a balancing act. And I know from corporate, especially women from corporate are not comfortable about showing any vulnerability. We're just not. And especially in front of men, it's really, really, really difficult to do that, because you feel like you're being judged, that you're not a strong person, and that you're weak, and it's a lot of bullshit.
Mhm.
And so we have probably more of a hard time, getting corporate women to kind of let go of that.
I see Marvin back on
Marvin's
here.
back, exactly.
Yes,
Already.
I snuck into the bathroom at the doctor's office.
The things that you will do for the virtual chat, I love that. Well,
I do have
yeah,
one
go,
question though.
Marvin. Yeah, please.
Sorry, talk about amazing women. Everybody on this chat this is great to see the matriarchs of the world and the instincts that they're really flourishing. I think it's interesting that, the world calls nature Mother Nature. How do you guys feel about when things are termed something that you really have a responsibility to the minute you show up on the planet, where, for males, we just kind of figure it out, but women, it starts with responsibility and never stops.
Yeah. I truly believe that I was put on this earth to help other women. I really do. And to help them create opportunities for each other. So I lead with that. That is, my why. Wendi, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. When you asked your question, Marvin, I immediately started thinking about just how, and it's actually a quote that we just put out, and it's like, women don't support the status quo because we're not it. So we are always basically, I think, trying to, I think we have to do things differently. And men, the male standard is typically the norm. And we're trying to work around that. We're trying to change it. And it's extremely challenging to kind of, unravel all of the centuries of what's gone on. But that's why one of the reasons why we call it boss talks. We don't call it boss babe. We don't call it like girl boss. We want it to be boss talks.
Right.
We don't want it to specifically pigeonhole us as women. We're bosses. We're all bosses.
Yeah. And I really truly believe that the more supportive men that there are for women, that paradigm will shift.
We've got to have that dialogue going all the time.
All the time.
To have men in the room to be exposed to the conversation is equally as important as for women to allow the men in the room so that they can be a part of that dialogue and to learn and exhibit better behaviors, which comes with the norm of, being in it, not just talking about it.
Yes.
And that's so critical.
Yes.
Well, we could keep doing this for hours. I know that. This is an incredible conversation. You could just, we bosses could talk for a very long time.
Oh yeah, we love it. We're always up for a good convo.
That's right.
Yes.
I so appreciate it. I'm really thrilled that I've been able to introduce you both, Hillary and Wendi, to the community that touches my heart every week, every day, everything that we connect with out there in this conversation about reinvention and reinventing your life. And I'm just really honored to know you and to be a part of your world as well. And I'm thrilled that more people through the website, through the podcast, are going to get to hear and meet you and hopefully join your community in, wherever they are, in any city or virtually. And, I encourage everybody to go check out bosstalks.com and get to know Wendy and Hillary. And I'm so grateful for you being here today and being on my virtual chat. And just, hope you can all connect with one another. And I wish you all an incredible Thanksgiving. I'm so grateful to all of you. And happy Reinvented, everybody.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
Hillary, I know where to
you.
find you.
You do.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Everybody.
This was
Thanks.
wonderful. I'm so
Thank you,
grateful.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
you.
Good
Thank you,
hug.
Sally.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Shelley.
Have a great one.